Yo, welcome back to another video. Welcome if you're new here. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications to get notified anytime a new video drops. It's been a while, man. The pound yen has had massive bullish movement last week and last 2 weeks, and it actually played with my psychology because on the pound yen, I was on my last video on pound yen, I was bearish on the pound yen, but it was a whole turnaround. Like, price did exactly the opposite of what I predicted, but I later on went back to the chart and looked for where I had like loopholes in my market analysis, and I saw some of it which I would like to share with you guys. Firstly, there is this trend line on the weekly time frame. This trend line right here. This trend line had 3 touches. This was the first touch on the trend line. This was the second touch on this trend line, and this was the third touch on the trend line. And the fourth touch was these 2 doji candlesticks around these areas. This was the fourth touch on the trend line on the weekly time frame. So actually, my whole psychology was messed with last week when price did the opposite of what I predicted, because I was bearish. Like, I had full confidence that GJ was going to be bearish last week, but as I said earlier on, it did the exact opposite. And this trend line, I feel like, is one of the loopholes in my market analysis that I did last week. I never considered this trend line on the weekly time frame. And the second thing I never considered was this support zone on the weekly time frame / daily time frame. If you look at this support zone on the daily time frame, which is this, you can see that price had 3 touches on this support on the daily time frame. Price came here the first time on the support, came the second time on this support, this was the third, and this was the fourth touch on this support. When trading Forex pairs, there's usually this saying that any zone that has 3 touches is a confirmed, either a confirmed zone of resistance or a confirmed zone of support, or even on a trend line. If a trend line has 3 touches, that is a confirmed trend line. And as you can see, this support was on the daily time frame. After these 3 touches on this support, and price was not able to break that support, my next move on the pound yen, it was supposed to be bullish because price was not able to break this zone 3 good times. But I failed to consider that when making my analysis for the last week and last 2 weeks. So basically, on Forex pairs, when a zone, price find it hard to break a zone for the first time, the second time, and the third time, like he had 3 touches on that zone and it failed to break that zone, that zone is a confirmed zone. Like, the next time price comes to that zone, there is every likelihood that price is not going to break that zone, except they have like any kind of economic news or so. What I would have done on my market analysis was, after I saw that price came here the first time, wasn't able to break, made some bullish movement to the upside, came back to that zone, wasn't still able to break that zone second time, make some bullish movement, and still came back the third time and was still not able to break this zone, and he still made some bullish movement to the upside. After this bearish movement down, I was supposed to be expecting buys from this zone, because This zone is a support zone on a daily time frame. There were sellers on this resistance zone here. So when sellers was on this resistance zone, you see that the way they push price to the downside was not like, it didn't have like that kind of like strong momentum to the downside. That was why when it came back to that zone the fourth time here, you can see this doji candlestick on that zone, like price just pushed to the upside. After getting this confirmation, this doji candlestick the fourth time on that daily support zone, we should have not been looking for sales on the pound yen. The only things that we should have been looking for was buys. And you can also see that price was trading above the 8 moving average. So that is another thing that we would have considered for economic news coming up on any pair you are trading. Also, we should be mindful of daily and weekly zones. Any daily and weekly zones that we have, we should put that in mind. Like, we should always trade with those zones in mind. Now, the last thing I also noticed was that weekly trend line. You can also see that on the weekly trend line, when price touched that trend line the fourth time, the two candlesticks that formed on that trend line was dojis. Like, the first candlestick, which was this, was a doji. The second one too was a doji. Then this bullish movement to the upside, this whole bullish candlestick to the upside. After this bullish candlestick to the upside, we should have not been looking for any bearish movement on the pound yen. On the monthly time frame, you can see that the whole movement momentum on the pound yen was bullish. This was just a retracement. We will have placed all these things in mind when trading last week and last 2 weeks, and we wouldn't have been looking for sell trades on the pound yen. So basically, what you should be looking for this week is, firstly, you can see on the weekly time frame that price has broken this whole resistance / support zone. This zone here, resistance / support zone. This bullish candle broke that zone, and after a break of a resistance or a support is the retest of that zone, and then the continuation, which I think price is going to do. Price should retest this 156.00 level, then shoot back up. So I hope that was educative. Sorry for not having all these outlook videos and analysis on these different pairs for the past 2 weeks now.